Since 2016, the way that I've changed things up and remained interested in everything going on is through changing all the time. I pride myself on the ability to be a different person every couple months because if I don't do that, I think I would just go insane in this room. When you run out of things to watch, or at least things that you're interested in watching, you begin to only be entertained by your mind, and that can be pretty scary when your mind state doesn't change very often, when you're always the same guy. And so, what I tend to do is I will just change my entire mind state. I'll switch up my identity in some way, and then I'll have new things to talk about on videos, thereby giving me something new to do. And I will feel slightly different. I'll feel like a different person on some level. But when I think about the last 3 years, since 2016, I've had a lot of variation in my mind state and who I am, but it feels artificial because when I look at what I was doing in 2016, it's not so much different from what I'm doing now. The only difference is that I've gotten better at speaking to other people and at having friends, gotten a little bit better at self-control, but beyond that, the things that I'm interested in and the things that I do have not changed very much. If anything, I feel like I've become more like myself in 2016 as of recent. And it's just, it's so odd to me because a while back, in the summer of 2018, one of the most precarious and strange times throughout my life. I was with this guy, and the type of person I was when I was with him is so fundamentally different than who I am now or who I was then that it honestly feels kind of amazing. Because it wasn't a front, I was genuinely what I was like when I was in that relationship. But like my entire view on the world and the way that I perceived reality was so fundamentally different because now everything I thought about was based on that relationship. It was me thinking about how I can structure my life around that. And even then I wasn't very good at it because I would leave for 4 or 5 days without talking to anyone, just to watch anime or make videos or some shit. Actually, that was when the backaches and eye strain and the porn video and all those videos came out some time ago. Like, they all came out back to back from one another, and then I was talking about all these anime shows and stuff. Good time on my channel. I think I was releasing like a video a day at the time or something crazy like that. So, it's very strange to me because I was thinking about it, and I remember when I got back from the mental hospital at the time, and I came back to all of these messages from him, and I remember just how happy I was. Like, I just felt so good at the time, and it didn't feel like my life was about just filling as much time as I could in my room anymore. It didn't feel like my life was a constant search for some kind of security in the ashes of all of the chaos going on at my home. Even though it was occurring at the time, I somehow felt safer and more secure because I was with him. And I don't think that's a feeling that I've gotten in any other relationship that I've gotten into afterwards. The fallout of that, how bad it was, how really bad that breakup was, I've never felt the same way since then. And I think that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But on some level, I think it fundamentally altered the way that I perceive and feel relationships because I've gotten with people who I've genuinely loved, but I never felt the same way. Even if we were closer, it never felt the same. And I don't know if I can ever feel the same way. I don't I don't know if that's inside of me anymore, because um, when that ended, and I genuinely wanted to kill myself after it ended because of just how bad the breakup was. Not because the breakup happened per se, but just because of how terrible it happened. Um, and how everyone around me was kind of turning against me just because this guy didn't want to be with me anymore. Uh, I think there were parts of my brain that I just shut off, that I decided that I shouldn't use anymore because the experience was so traumatic. Because after that happened, like, I was waking up every day with a pit in my chest, with my heart just beating really fast. It was very difficult for me to leave the shelter that I was in at the time to go out and go to Walmart, or to get on the trolley and go wherever it was that my mom was taking me. I would have to sit down if we were walking in the street because my heart would be racing so fast. I had blood pressure done from a doctor, and they told me it was way higher than it was supposed to be. I started to, get my hair falling out because I was just so stressed all the time, because that's how much it hurt for it to end the way that it did. And I remember the night that it had specifically ended. I didn't really know what to do. I just kind of shut down after he told me, and my reaction from when we were in the call with one another versus the reaction that I had later are very interesting, because when he called me up to tell me about everything after he sent me the message, I just kind of said okay. I didn't have an emotional reaction you think I would have. I just said okay, and I think I said something like it's my fault or whatever, go ahead. But then a mere 20 minutes later, I just started bawling my eyes out, and I freaked out, and I kicked a chair really hard with my bare feet. I had to walk around with my foot hurting for quite some time after that, and I went into a call with all of my friends at the time, as a friend of mine organized this server, and I just kept crying and crying to these people. And I think I was in there for about 3 hours, something like that. And then I remember it was pretty funny looking back, is that I said, I think I'm gonna kill myself. I have to stop the call now, or something to that effect. And then everyone was like, okay, yeah, go ahead. Um, and so I I literally left the call after that, and then had the police come, and then the police took me to go to a hospital. Now, I didn't get admitted to the mental ward because at the time I had said there's no reason to kill myself because I want to go to Vietnam. That was the train of thought that I had, is that I had this idea of like the Vietnamese dream, and I was going to go meet a girl or a guy in Vietnam, and I was gonna, I don't know, eat street food all the time. Like, I was really obsessed with this. It made me really happy to see the images of the country in my head and to imagine living there. And so, I had this thought because I was thinking, I want to die. What could I possibly have to live for if not this person? And that was the thought that came in my head, is that I said I want to travel all over the world, and I want to live in this country. And still to this day, if I have thoughts like that, I will think the same thing 1 year later. Well, not 1 year later. The breakup was in what, August? September? I don't even know. Um, but uh, you know, it's just looking back on that. It was a huge mess. It was a ginormous mess. Like, every single day I would have the same thought that I wanted to kill myself, and I didn't think that there was any other answer. I thought that was the only logical way out of where I was. Um, and so when you're in a state like that, it's pretty difficult to get out of it. I have to plug in the phone now because it's actually running out of batteries. Um, okay. But when you're in a state like that, it was pretty difficult to get out of it. I was in it for several months afterwards. Like, I would get in calls and stuff, and I would just feel entirely alone around all of my friends. I was in a group called Shonen Hell at the time, and I remember after everything had happened, I would continue telling the Shonen Hell guys, hey, let's get into a call with each other. Like, I really needed to talk to them because I just didn't have anyone else around, or I would call just anybody I could, all of my friends. I would try to always have someone who I was talking to all the time, because if I was alone, I would have to be alone with my thoughts, and my thoughts continued to just tell me over and over and over and over again that I needed to kill myself, and that there was no point in continuing on. I couldn't sleep at that time. I had to talk to someone in order to get to sleep. When I would try to lay down in my bed, the stress and the thoughts would continue hitting me again and again and again, and I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to deal with those thoughts. I would just feel worse. My heart would continue going faster. It was like a genuine, real pain, a physical pain was aching at me all the time, all throughout the day, and it only made the suicidal emotional thoughts worse, because it felt like not just my emotional state was being distraught, but also my physical state was. And so I just continued to feel worse and worse. And so the only way that I could get to sleep was if I was distracted enough by talking to someone else. I would fall asleep in calls with people. That was the only thing I knew what to do. And I was talking to one specific guy, and I just started sounding more and more silly before I got to sleep, because I was talking slower, I was saying less and less words, and then eventually there was such long gaps between the time in which any of us would say anything that the rest I just forgot, and then I would fall asleep. I had a lot of calls like this. And that's the only way I knew how to get to sleep, was by doing that. If I put on a Let's Play or a podcast, I would just think over it. I wouldn't be able to pay attention because of the weight of my emotions. If I tried to sleep on my own, the thoughts were too much. And so I needed to be around other people at that time. That's how difficult it was. I would only end up sleeping about 5 or 4 hours, and I never really knew why. I would sometimes get an okay amount of sleep, but the majority of the time I would wake up for some reason, and I wouldn't be able to get back to bed. To this day, I still don't know how to explain that. I don't know why I was sleeping such short times at the time, but when I woke up, I would have another aching feeling in my chest. My heart didn't really get better. I was constantly on the brink of falling down because my heart was going so fast. I did fall down because my heart was going so fast. That's how much stress I was under. I didn't know how to deal with it. And to this day, I don't really understand how I felt so bad because of that breakup. I guess it was how attached I was to him, how much love I felt. Maybe it was the fact that it was the first real relationship I had with someone who I was in love with. But ever since then, I've never been able to feel the same way. And I don't know if I ever will. Maybe if I'm lucky one day, I'll get with somebody who knows how to bring it out of me. But that experience gave me so much trauma that I still dream about it sometimes. I still have fucking dreams about that shit. You know? And it hurts. It hurts in the dreams just as much as it did in reality. Now, when I think about it these days, it doesn't bother me so much, because it happened quite a long time ago. You know, time is the biggest aid for these types of things. Eventually, after enough time passes, it's not going to bother you anymore. But for me, at the time, it was so real, and when I relive some of those memories through dreams, it still feels real. And that was the one time in which I felt like I did fundamentally change as a person, where I was totally different when I was in that relationship because the love that I was feeling gave me entirely new aspirations and goals, new thoughts. I don't think people understand is that when you're really in love with someone, it's like your entire world changes. And that's how I felt. But after that happened, and after I've been unable to feel the same way for anyone, it feels like I've just been regressing backward. Like I've been becoming more of the same guy that I was before before I was in that relationship than I have becoming someone entirely new. And so nowadays I just spend most of my time playing fucking video games, watching YouTube videos, and making YouTube videos. It's not so different than the guy I was in 2016. And I don't know how Infinite Outlaw in 2020 is going to be, but I can't imagine it's going to be too different from the guy you're seeing right here. I want to be a fucking freelancer, for God's sake. What does a freelancer do besides sit in their room and just do their work? It seems as if I've modeled my entire plan of action based upon what I've been doing for my entire life. And I've been giving the metric of 2016. You want to go back real far? You want to go back to 2009, 2008, when I was just a little kid? I didn't do anything very different from what I'm doing now. I stayed in my room all the time. I wasn't really allowed to go outside, nor did I want to because there was nothing but trees out there, and so I just played video games. I went on the computer. I used my fucking Windows ME computer to go on the GameFAQs forums and make a bunch of accounts to spam the boards and give my shitty opinions on games that I had never even played just to fuck with people. That was my life at the time. And that guy who was sitting there on his little Windows ME computer using Internet Explorer, playing Psychonauts on the Xbox over and over again, or playing Halo 2 over and over again, isn't so different from the guy who has to watch all of the same YouTubers over and over again because he feels that YouTube is a desolate wasteland with nothing interesting, or who has to obsessively play the same matches in CSGO or TF2 or something like that. It's not so different. And so I don't know. I don't think there's anything more for me. Maybe when I get 25 or 26, I'll have some kind of revelation like what I've read about on these MGTOW forums of the guys, they go to another country and they find themselves and stuff, and then they become a financial creditor or something for a bank, and then they just talk about how great life is and how they don't need a woman. I don't know. But the course of my life, the amount of time that I've spent just being in my room and relying on entertainment to feel things and to live out my life continually instead of ending it seems to be something that isn't going away anytime soon. It seems to be a trend that's been here for the entirety of that life. I never liked school. I did everything I could to not do school so I could do things I liked. I'm not the type of person who you can force to do things that they don't want to do. And it's why when someone will tell me, Star, why don't you try to get into more relationships? Why don't you try to do better in them instead of isolating yourself? I really have to ask, what is the point? Why? Why would I want to do that when I get just as much, if not more, joy from doing the same fucking shit I've been doing this entire time? Doesn't make me any more or less happy to be with a hunk of meat who I don't even care about in the same way that I did about him. You know, the only thing that makes it worth it is getting to have cereal with somebody. That isn't particularly possible where I'm located, at least. So I don't see a point. It's that when I'm with someone, I want to love them. I want to show them genuine care. I want to be the right man for them. But time and time again, that turns out not to be the case. That my heart just isn't in the game. That I just don't care. That's the hardest reality to deal with, oftentimes. And I know I'm sounding a little bit like a weird, pretentious guy in here. That's not my intent. Is that I'm just trying to say what's on my mind, what I'm feeling. That people often tell me that these videos are narcissistic and that I'm being pretentious or like I'm above everyone else for saying these things in the way that I do. But if I could get rid of this feeling, if I could be like someone else, I would. Because I don't know how to be like anyone else. I've tried. Many, many times I've tried. I don't know how to be like everyone else. There was a long time in which that was the only thing I wanted. Was just to be able to blend in. That I actually can do, kind of, but I don't like doing it. Just to be able to live the lives everyone else is living. So I can be recognized as a normal person and loved for that. But I can't. I don't know how to. I've tried over and over and over again, and every single time I've ended up back in this room playing the same games and talking to you guys. What else is there? What else do I do? I don't know how to do anything else. And I'm told that I'm narcissistic for wanting to do that when this is the only way I can cope with that fact. I think I had a point with this video. I don't really remember what it was. I was trying to talk about feeling the same way or feeling like you're the same person for a long period of time. Um, I don't think I've changed very much over the last 10 years. There's certain pretty obvious changes if you go back through my videos, but like in terms of what I do and certain fundamental things about how I feel, I don't think I've changed very much. Um, it's just, it's kind of sad when the only thing you have that you really feel proud of and care about is just making videos on an internet platform or writing in the ether for no one to read it. And those things are the only thing I feel satisfied by when I do. Or I just escape into a video game and pretend that the world around me doesn't exist. I like learning some stuff. I like history. Well, thank God I like to translate things, and I'm interested in other languages because that's the only fucking thing I can do that makes money. I can't do anything else. I've tried. I've tried many times to learn to do a skill that would be marketable. I've tried many times to be in school and to have the self-discipline to continue, but every single time I have stopped. I don't know how. I don't know how to make myself do these things that I don't want to do. You understand? I don't know how to. I've tried. Again and again and again, I have tried. And now, I can't even rely on the fact that I have someone who I love, romantically speaking, to fall back on. That I can't plan my life around that because that seemingly doesn't exist for me after the trauma that I've incurred. What do you do about that? Other than just sit in the same room and play video games all day and sound like a fucking insane person into a camera. I've talked a lot about how the meaning for me, the reason why I want to live out to old age is because of legacy, or because I want to die knowing that I've helped more people than I've hurt. And with the lifestyle that I'm currently living, I don't think I can necessarily do that. But it's not like going outside is particularly hard as long as I have something that I know how to do and can do out there. The question is how exactly am I going to help? What legacy am I going to leave that did something for people? It makes me happy when I do things for other people. It makes me feel like I'm worth something, like I'm doing something right. And when I talk about legacy and the reason why I continue living is because of that, is because I want to die knowing that I've helped more people than I've hurt, that I've given more than I've taken away from this world, and allow that to be something that I use to quote unquote die happy. That dying happy has always been the meaning for me after a certain point. If I'm gonna do that, if I'm gonna give myself that meaning, if I'm gonna do those things that help other people, then I have to get out of my shell. I have to leave this room. I have to do something more than just this. That seems to be the uphill battle that I'm focused the most on doing. The thing is that the place that I live doesn't really have anything like that would allow me to get out and help others directly. As numb as I may be when it comes to loving other people in a romantic sense, I think I'm hyper emotional when it comes to a systemic sense. When I see the amount of poverty in the world from my computer screen, from all these articles of this place was bombed or this place doesn't have food, it genuinely makes me sad. It hurts when I see that the world is as rotten and as dangerous of a place as it is. And sometimes, when the right thing happens, I might even cry. That's something that I do a lot when things get really emotional for me. And the answer to that for me has always been, if I can directly help some of those people, then I'll feel better about the fact that the world is as terrible as it is, that as many bad things are happening as they are, because that will give something back to them, that will keep them from experiencing that pain, and that would be good. And I know it'll benefit me, not just in the direct emotional sense, but also for the years down the line, that homeless person who I help along will start to be someone who benefits society in some way, in small ways, and then that'll filter back to me. That's what I've always said, and it's true. uh, I need to take that first step to doing that. I don't know what else to do. I either make the direct impact that I've wanted to make for however long, or I continue sitting here being sad that the world is the way that it is. I have to be an agent in changing that world, or else I'm just going to continue wallowing in the misery that it causes. And people tell me to stop caring so much about how the world is, about how people are. But I don't know how to switch it off. Trust me, I would have if I knew how to. I've tried many times. I tried to have the sociopathic mindset. I tried to be completely numb to everything around me, and it didn't work. Because I was too emotional for that. I cared too much. I gotta do something. I gotta do something. I don't like the feeling of necessarily always feeling like the same guy, but I don't dislike it either. It's almost like it's in this limbo state that I've defined the thing that's gonna give me meaning ultimately, and the thing that I care about doing in the long term until I become geriatric and ready to leave this place is to leave a legacy and to help. But when I look at my lifestyle, I don't feel a direct emotional need to leave that lifestyle. I just kind of exist within it. I just let it happen, let it wash over me, so to say. It doesn't feel like there's any direct emotional cause that would lead to action, right now at least. Sure, I do feel emotional about the things that are going on, and when I see them, sometimes very emotional. But in terms of leaving this room, it's never been enough of a motivator to truly leave. Sometimes it feels like I'm just gonna rot here. Like this is just the stasis that I've been put in, and that stasis is going to command the rest of my life. Want to go to Vietnam, I know I will. One way or another. If not through directly working a minimum wage job to save up the money, then through eventually being good enough at these languages to do the freelance work, to have the money to go. That is not something that I'll take lying down. It's not something that I'm just gonna wait for it to never happen. Something that I care about. It's something that I cared enough about to be it a motivator for me to stay alive in that time of great peril where I was ready to go. I don't have all the answers here, but the one very shocking thing to me that has continued to bother me time and time again has been just how long I've existed this way. Just how long I've been avoiding the things that I don't want to do, that I hate doing, and just how long I've been drawn to staying in this room instead of leaving it. That trend, that continuation of events, is one of the most terrifying things in the world when what you want to be doing is to be going out and making a change. Does any of this even make sense? I feel like I've been going on and on, but I don't even really know if what I'm saying makes sense or if it's coming through to you guys. It's kind of a long video, most people probably won't watch it. But it's something I've needed to get off my chest. I didn't even really expect to go into all of these topics. I just wanted to talk about the idea that I feel like I've been kind of the same for a long time. And then I got emotional and started spiraling out into all these other topics, as I normally do. Vietnamese Dream 2020, I guess. If I'm not staying around in this room, I can be staying around in a room in another country. Fantastic idea. Just be isolated somewhere else. You need the change of scenery, and by change of scenery, I mean a slightly different four walls that you can strain yourself to. You know, great idea. Great stuff. They have delivered McDonald's. Did you know that? It's the most woke thing in the world. I don't have to leave my home to get McDonald's, bro. Do you even know? Do you even have the IQ to grasp such a concept? Oh, God. I still feel like things will probably get better. It'll probably be fine. You know, hope. It's the holy idea. It's the holy idea for Star is hope, I guess. I don't know. It's mostly about trends that I'm talking about here. I've remained the same way for however long, and it's been it's been difficult to change that. Now, I worry a lot about the long-term viability of being in a relationship with someone as well, because as I even talked about in my I literally don't understand porn video, is that I'll just lose interest. Is that, like, even in that one that I was talking about, the one I was really passionate and cared about, like, I would just ghost him randomly, you know, I wouldn't even spend time with him all the time, and I was kind of neglectful because of that, but I just draw inward. That's my baseline instinct, is to draw inward, to stay in here, do my own thing. And when I'm with someone, especially with someone who I do not love passionately, where I don't feel a direct connection to them on this visceral emotional level, it's extremely hard for me to spend time with them. And time again, I have not made that connection, nor have I felt the extremity of it as I have in the past with that one person. And the trauma from that, I think, has just completely shut that part off in my brain. And I've seen it happen with other people. This isn't a new phenomenon. I've seen it occur in others. So I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can truly love people the way that they want me to. Maybe that's okay. Maybe all I really need to do is just provide a supportive role for someone else and exist. You know, tons of people work a 9 to 5 every day just to come back and have sex, play video games or something. They're all just filling time. It's no different than me filling time by making videos and playing video games. It's what I already fucking do. The only difference is that I'm forced to be around someone else. That's probably the difficult variable that I have to think about, because I want to adopt children one day. Can you imagine that? Someone as insane as Star adopting children? I would have to improve significantly before I was able to do that. I would have to be a way better person in order to do that. And one of those big problems is being able to stay with people continually. Allowing myself to speak to the same people and live with the same people on a continual basis, because I have trouble doing that. I get bored of the people that I'm around, and I've never understood why. I will just get bored of them and then ghost them. I can't imagine the idea of being married to someone for 5, 4, 3 years, let alone the amount it would take to raise kids, like 20. It's insane to me. I can't even stick with friends for that long, let alone a romantic partner who I have to live and eat with. But then there's the desire inside of me to want it because it's a human desire. I keep, time and time again, ending up being the same. And if I end up being the same when I'm in a relationship and everything comes crashing down as it has in the past when I plan my future around it and when I want to progress to raise kids and have this quote unquote legacy that I keep on talking about, then I gotta get the emotional stability to do that. And that seems to be something that I just don't have because I will get bored or I'll want to be by myself more, and that inward motion that I have within myself continues to come back out. If it's been this way for 14 years, how do I expect it to be not this way in 10 years? This is 41 minutes long. I've been ranting for 41 minutes about this topic. At the end of the day, I hope I can change. I hope I can be better as a human being. Because inside of me, that really is what I want. I see all the pain and suffering in the world and I say, I need to fix it, I need to do good things, because it hurts to see it happen. But in reality, in practice, so many times that turns out to not be the case, that I'm unable to fulfill the goal or the role that I want to. And as a result of that, I end up drawing inward once again. Perhaps the true peace that I need to make is with that fact, or perhaps I need to entirely change the way that I live and the way that I feel. But as I've said, I've been unsuccessful in doing so many times.